While I had a completely different episode ready to post today, which probably will be dropping later on today, but it just got announced by Shams Charania that the Milwaukee Bucks are taking trade calls actively in Giannis Antetokounmpo. And with the NBA Draft Combine going down this week as well, this is where a lot of movement on deals like this start happening, conversations start happening between NBA execs and GMs. We're going to be talking about Miami, Golden State, Boston, and Portland as being the teams that could be interested in trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Reportedly, the Milwaukee Bucks want a blue chip guy in regards to that. So we're talking about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball and NBA related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And man, apparently the Milwaukee Bucks are open for business in regards to trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this is something that, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while now, I've been saying and calling it the Milwaukee Bucks have been handling this thing right, in my personal opinion. They should have been looking to move on from Giannis Antetokounmpo just for the betterment of their franchise. They already made one great decision with deciding to not allow Giannis to come back and to maximize their potential of getting a lottery pick in this draft. And that's what they did. And for what it's worth, they have the 10th overall pick in this draft coming into the 2026 draft. And now with being at the NBA Draft Combine, this all makes sense. So when Shams Charania came out today and said that the Milwaukee Bucks are basically open for business in regards to trading Giannis, it just made sense. And I know not everybody's going to want to hear that. I know Milwaukee Bucks fans are going to hate to hear this as well, as they should, because this is a situation where you were losing a player that not only had love for your franchise, brought a title to your city, but also looks at your city legitimately as home, right? So now, with the Milwaukee Bucks kind of opening up the situation, this isn't casual rumor territory. This is where the conversation actually shifts from that to asking price. And with the Milwaukee Bucks reportedly asking for a young blue chip talent in regards to that and draft assets, this means that the Milwaukee Bucks have had those internal conversations about what life after Giannis Antetokounmpo needs to look like for this team. The Bucks cannot afford to lose Giannis for anything less than getting a blue chip talent back. That's just the reality of it, right? Of course, his future extension decision does control a lot of things for that with teams that have interest in Giannis, because while Giannis doesn't have a no trade clause, the fact that he does have to agree to an extension with any team that he's going to sign for, at least you would think most teams are going to want him to agree to an extension right after trading for him, then you know that's a power that he does hold, right? Of course, I would say this, waiting too long has already shrunk the leverage some that the Milwaukee Bucks have in potentially trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that's what it gets down to. Before we even get into the teams, right, and we're going to talk about the teams specifically. Before we even get into those teams, we have to ask some real questions on what the Bucks are trying to reload up for, right? Now, there is a case that this could be some leverage, right? That maybe they're looking to try to gear up and retool around Giannis. Maybe there's a little bit of that. But I don't think that that's what's being done here. This is now the Milwaukee Bucks realizing we have a top 10 pick. There's some pretty damn good talent. We may even be able to get another pick in this draft with the Golden State Warriors having the 11th overall pick. More on that here in a second, right? But I think when you look at this, right, is a young star plus picks enough to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, or should the Milwaukee Bucks be asking for more? I think this, right? This is Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's not just an all-star. This is a guy that has completely transformed this team, but he's also on the wrong side of 30. And that's just the reality of it. Is he still a very, valuable player? Absolutely. But the days of Giannis being able to elevate your team with just kind of, whatever pieces around him to elevate your team to be a playoff team, that's done, right? So, yes, Giannis is still a damn good player, and a player that is still like a franchise caliber player. He's only 31 years old, but that's where the decline starts. He still averaged 27 points per game last year, right? But he only played 36 games. That's after playing 67 the season before and 73 the year before that. So he's been declining each of the last 3 years. Now, he was already on a stretch where in 4 straight seasons, he didn't play over 70 games in 4 straight seasons before that, and then got to 73. So there's just a reality of the age factor that has to play a part into all of this when I think you're talking about and having this conversation with Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. But I think if you're the Milwaukee Bucks and you can get back a young blue chipper, whether that's through the draft selection this year or whatever it is, that's what it's going to have to be. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks if you are not offering, or if you're trying to offer a cute little package, I need your best young player. I need your picks or pick swaps, and that's what I need to get done, right? So yes, the young blue chip talent has to be a starting point in that deal. That can be a player that's already on a roster or a draft pick that you have for a la the Golden State Warriors, right? Picks matter, but picks alone, I don't think you carry this deal. You need something more than just the picks. And I do think like Milwaukee is a franchise that, right or wrong, say what you will, they always have to draft the face of their franchise. They've never really been a free agent destination, even really over Giannis Antetokounmpo's time. And I think that the wrong return, not getting the best return on this deal for Giannis Antetokounmpo, could set the franchise back even further than just losing Giannis, right? So you have to manage all of those things when it comes down to it. Now, Shams did report that there are expected to be a number of teams interested in Giannis Antetokounmpo, which makes sense, right? All that makes sense for this team. But at the end of the day, like, the Bucks cannot afford to go into this one and just trade Giannis away for anything, right? The direct quote from Shams is this: "There's expected to be a robust market for Antetokounmpo, and ownership and front office officials expect to maintain their trade deadline asking price of a young blue chip talent and or a surplus of draft picks. The Bucks are nearing a franchise-altering decision on Giannis. Is it time to trade the former? Yes, it's time." So with that said, right, Haslam has already, reaffirmed the timeline, right? And so, getting this done during the NBA draft, or if you can get it done before the draft and announced and agreed upon, great. That's why I said this coming out the same week as the draft combine is very intentional, because most NBA execs are going to be at the draft combine watching draft prospects. We've heard, if you guys are a huge NBA fans, you know that at the draft combine, this is where a lot of those prerequisite talks start getting done for larger trades that happen either at the draft or at the opening of free agency. And so this is an opportunity for the Bucks, everybody to know what their goal and what their aim is going into this week at the draft combine, and maybe coming out of this with the framework, or at least a handful of kind of knowing what the value is and which deals that they can make. And then as we get to the NBA draft, that's later in June, that's where you can maybe see some of these deals solidified and the trigger pulled on some of them. So what are some of the teams that could be interested? Now, I'm going to this article from Bleacher Report that lists 4 teams that could be interested in Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to talk about the trade package that they have for each one of those guys, each one of those teams as well. So the first up is the Golden State Warriors. They have the Golden State Warriors offering Jimmy Butler, Brandon Podziemski, the 11th pick in the 2026 draft, a 2027 first rounder, a 2030 protected first round pick, and a protected first round pick in 2032 as well, right? Keep in mind, Pods is from Milwaukee. He is extension eligible this summer as well. Would he be considered that young blue chip? I don't know. I don't think that Pods is a blue chip player. He's a solid player, a player that you can have on your team that's, talented. You can maybe flip later, but, he is recovering from a knee injury as well, right? Jimmy Butler's just here to make the money work. That's not a piece to deal around. He has an expiring $56.8 million deal that could be used again, maybe at the trade deadline if he comes back healthy and do that. The value in this trade lies in the draft compensation. You're getting the 11th overall pick in this draft, where you can add another nice young talented piece to go along with your own number 10 pick, right? You have the number 10 pick, so you have 10 and 11. When it comes down to that, there's a chance to add you can add a guard like Kel'el Brown. You can add, a forward like Axel Lindenberg or Hans Steinbach, or even go kind of huge upside with Jaden Quintessence, right? If that's a little bit of reach, you can trade down for that. So there's a number of picks that could be there. Brandon Burries could even fall down to that one. I love Braden Burries overall as a player. So you have those options there. I think this would be a really solid deal for the Milwaukee Bucks. Are the Golden State Warriors giving up too much? Maybe, but we know that they are, with Steve Kerr re-signing there, with them trying to get extension with Steph Curry there. You replace Jimmy Butler with Giannis. Yeah, you're missing out on the 11th overall pick, but now you have Draymond, who they seem, to be very much so attached to. You have the 11th overall pick. You have, you don't. You have you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have Steph, and you have some pieces that you can build around with still some flexibility that lies in that as well. A pick and roll with Giannis and Steph Curry, man, that would be crazy, and that would give the Golden State Warriors exactly what they want: a chance to still compete for a title with in this run while they still have Steph Curry. It adds a premium shooter that you want there with Giannis, and I think that really makes sense a lot in a lot of this case. Next up, they have the Boston Celtics. Now, this has always kind of been weird to me to hear the Boston Celtics get older when you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown there. Again, their season ended in a disappointing fashion, so maybe. they have the Boston Celtics getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, a trade exception of $700,000. They're trading out Jaylen Brown and a 2026 first rounder, which is number 27, and a 2027 first round pick as well. Here's the thing. This is the best player that the Milwaukee Bucks can get back. I don't think if the Boston Celtics are even open to trading one of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, they're going to go after a player like Giannis. That's my personal thing when it comes down to it. But with the change of the lottery system and all that's coming with the tanking and all of that happening, the tanking rules, I think that in regards to this one, the Bucks don't have a pick in 2027. They do not have a first-round pick in 2027, so that gets them that. And, I don't know if that's enough. I mean, you have Jaylen Brown, who absolutely is a blue chipper. And then in that case, like you could then try to rebuild around Jaylen Brown immediately. You don't have to take that longer kind of step. I just don't know if the Boston Celtics would be all in on this type of move personally. But again, this list came from Bleacher Report. Next up, the Portland Trail Blazers. Having the Portland Trail Blazers receiving Giannis Antetokounmpo, trading out Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, Chris Murray, Matisse Thybulle in a sign and trade, a 2028 first rounder, and a 2029 first rounder. Now, here's the thing that comes down to this one. While I understand that Portland may want to accelerate their timeline some, I personally think that the Portland Trail Blazers are in a place where let your youth develop. There's no rush in this. And you don't have to go all in and trade your youth yet. I don't think that's the right move for them yet, right? But I do think that, this is an offer, probably the best offer that the Portland Trail Blazers can put forward. Of course, people are going to say, put Denny on the table, but I don't think they're going to want to do that, especially if you're giving up Scoot and Shaedon already in this deal. Maybe you could take one or two of those guys off, but I just think you look at it, is this too much of a reunion with former Bucks? Like, you're bringing Giannis here. You already saw that him and Dame didn't quite work the way that you wanted to. You have Dame coming back this season. I think you just let your youth develop. I don't like this deal for the Portland Trail Blazers, not because I don't like Giannis potentially on their team. I just personally don't think that this is where they need to be right now. I don't think this is the best move for them. I think they can take a while and another season before they push their chips all in. They're having a change of head coach, all that type of stuff. But I do think that if they're going to want this, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to want one of those young blue chip players back in that deal as well, right? Now, could you try to finagle and use Jeremy Grant and his contract in that some way? Maybe, but we'll see, right? The next team up that I think you have to make a case for is the Miami Heat, right? Now, Bleacher Report has the Miami Heat receiving Giannis Antetokounmpo, a $4.7 million trade exception, whereas the Milwaukee Bucks will receive Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Nikola Jović, a 2026 first-round pick, 2030 first-round pick, 2032 protected first-round pick, a 2033 second-round pick, and a $4.6 million trade exception to get Giannis Antetokounmpo in the building there in Miami. Now, this is a match made in heaven for Pat Riley. He would love to be able to get this deal done in regards to that. I think that, Miami makes a lot of sense because we know that this is maybe the best fit and maybe the most dangerous bet at the same time when it comes down to that. It makes sense basketball-wise. You have Bam. You have Pat Riley's aggressive style that he likes there. You have, of course, Coach Eric Spoelstra in regards to that one. Giannis and Bam would be a defensive nightmare in opposing teams, right? Tyler Herro will give Milwaukee an established score that they can have there. The question is there an actual superstar upside anywhere in this deal for the Milwaukee Bucks? And that answer may determine when it comes down to this one. This feels like the destination that everybody's going to predict for Giannis Antetokounmpo because we know that how aggressive Miami wants another star. I just don't know if this is going to end up being the best option for them to move forward in. But basketball-wise, it definitely makes a lot of sense. Out of these deals presented by Bleacher Report, Golden State and Miami make the most sense of the teams on this list for me because these are teams that are going to want to try to get stuff done now to get it in there. I don't think the Celtics really trade Jaylen Brown, in my personal opinion. I don't think Portland's going to cash in on their youth quite yet. That's just my personal opinion on it. But the question comes down to who offers the best and which team around the NBA does something that gets Giannis out of Milwaukee. But that's something to watch out for. That's going to do it for today's episode of NBA Central, y'all. This Giannis situation feels like one of those situations that could go from rumor to actuality very quickly with the draft combine going on. This is a franchise-defining decision by the Milwaukee Bucks. And for teams circling the Milwaukee Bucks and trying to get Giannis, We're going to see what ends up happening in regards to this case. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You guys can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything basketball and NBA related. I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Later today, because I was already about to record it. Yeah. Love you guys. Peace.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.